start, as we've seen in all this tour. There's no easy breakaways being left away at all. They're just so aggressive in the start, and we'll see the same again today, because this is an opportunity in that first 40 plus kilometers. Get into the breakaway, get down to the first climb of the day, and then see what the composition of the breakaway is, what the action is back in the main peloton. And you never know, you might be allowed that big advantage, and with a possibility going all the way to the finish. But with the points classification after that, 16 kilometers, we see Wout van Aert, he's up there, he's going to be moving as well. That's not going to change a lot. It's just going to be so active and so many riders trying to make the breakaway. We might not see it going until we get onto that first climb of the day. After that, 45 kilometer mark.
Albertville, venue for the start of 151.7 kilometers, heading to Col du Granon for the first time since 1986. We have 4,070 meters of climbing today. It's a beast of a mountain stage. No hiding place today. The high mountains are here. The first ore category test. We've got another tomorrow. Galibier, the favorite mountain of the Tour founder Henri Desgranges. We introduced it all the way back in 1911. And we climb it today and tomorrow. There's Alexei Lutsenko, still 17th, fighting on it, just under 5 minutes down. Today, Sean, I think will be the first step on a new Tour de France to those who might lose time, or a reconfirmation for those who've been feeling pretty good and stay up there in the GC today, because surely we have to have general classification action.
Yes, we're going to see sure general classification action on that final climb on the Granon. Will we see it in the earlier part of the day on the Galibier? Very, very possible. And some teams might try and just put on the pressure on the long climb of Galibier, 17 plus kilometers. And of course, we go over the 2,000 meter mark when the oxygen, some riders have difficulty adapting to that, and that is a climb, Galibier, where there's a number of kilometers towards the top. You go well over the 2,000 meters, which is 2,006 is the top of the Galibier. So that could be a tactic the teams will try and see. Can they put some of the GC men and really test some of them?
First climb of the day, though. It's going to be a picturesque one. Let's have a look at its vital statistics with John.
It is an absolute beauty. Remember when it first came onto the Tour, just how beautiful it was. The overhead picture, which you sort of get a little bit of an idea. There are 18 switchbacks on their way up the Lacet de Montvernier, and you're seeing there the time that the average pro does it in yellow, and then the time that the average amateur does it in the orange. So 9 minutes and 28 seconds is the record. Average pro does it in 13 minutes, average amateur in 20 minutes. So far, just under 37,500 attempts have been made up it in Strava.
Well, another 161 attempts today. 700 meters from the start. And that climb is going to be a deviation from our main run for the first, what is it today? Almost halfway up the stage before we begin climbing in real earnest. The 70-kilometer journey up the Maurienne Valley. Interesting to see who's hanging around at the front today. Mathieu van der Poel, not far away. There's his old mate Wout van Aert. Look out for David Gaudu today. He said this is one that he's had marked down. But today, if you're going to get away from the likes of Tadej Pogačar, you're going to have to be pretty good. It's not just the Galibier to take on. You imagine, Sean, that the racing will be done on the Granon, but with the Galibier in the legs.
Yes, well, I think, the combination of the climbs we have in that final today, first of all, the Telegraph, and then lead into the Galibier. A little bit of a descent, but very little time after climbing the Telegraph. Let's not forget 11 kilometers plus, and the gradients are quite high as well. So that is going to be that process of just trying to wear down the riders, and then when you get on to the Galibier, will we see a team really pushing on the pace?
A big
Fucking
monument
medication is still in my
stage
system.
day on the Tour de France, and its quality, classy riders who are off up the road, including Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert. It's like watching him on the crossfield right away as the flag goes. Wout van Aert, you imagine, Sean, first task is to get those points in the sprint competition that come after 16.5 kilometres.
Yes, well, that is the objective there, and he is still hungry for the points for the green jersey. Although he's leading by a long, long ways, he's still, going for that one. So he's definitely keeping the interest up in it for us, because, we could see that classification really dying, because he is, really dominated and took control big time. But, he's trying to get up here and, get the points, but also see what happened, the breakaway, who's going to be in here, how many riders, all of that. And, we know Van Aert, we see him last year on the climbs, the way he was getting up, and over Mont Ventoux, he's capable of winning out of a breakaway today.
The flag of Savoy, the region in which we ride, the red and white on the side of the road. The two riders at the top of your picture at the moment are Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel, and it's refreshing to see van der Poel at the front, Sean. It looks as though he is getting better bit by bit.
Well, that is the question. Is he getting better enough? And he's a rider that likes to get active in the earlier part of a stage, and today, he's going to give it a go there, see what happens, see if he gets into the breakaway, and if it doesn't happen, well, then he just, sit back and get into the bus, the group that is going to be, riding to stay inside the time limit. That's what he will do, and that's the kind of rider he is. He gets bored sitting in the peloton, but unfortunately in this race, he's not able to do a lot because he is suffering, haven't been in the form he would like to be.
We saw Ineos Grenadiers chasing one of the early moves down with a big group of about 12 to 15 riders who were chasing these two. Bahrain Victorious are in the chase. It looks as though their main first objective of this tour for the moment is that stage win, even though they do have Damiano Caruso still there at 3 minutes 40 and 16th. They now have a top 10 man in Luis Leon Sanchez at 1 minute 50. They were close yesterday between Wright and Sanchez, and they're trying to get a man up the road again today. Simon Geschke, the king of the mountains, is trying to break away too. A big day, of course, in that competition. Second category, Lassé de Montvernier coming after 50 Ks. Col du Télégraphe after 84 kilometers today. That's a first category climb, and then the big points on the Souvenir Henri Desgranges at 107 kilometers into the stage, the highest point of the Tour de France. Of course, it will be climbed again tomorrow from the shorter side, but the big prize for the highest point of the Tour is given out today, given the fact that we're going up from the more classic side, the northern side, 35 kilometers long, if you include the Col du Télégraphe. EF Education Easy Post got their stage win yesterday, but they're hungry for more today. Looks like the style of Bissiger. Number 54 here is Catania. Polit active. Just 15 seconds back to the yellow jersey group at the moment. No look like any let up yet, Sean.
No, we can see, there's still action there. And it's not surprising because, the riders that still feel good in this race and are not for the final of the stage where they can, compete against the real good climbers or the favourites of the race, fighting for the overall classification. Get out there, get into the break, and then see what happens, see what the position is. And of course as well, the mountain classification, as you talked about, Rob, I think there's in that first part up to the 106 kilometres, when we go over the Galibier, there's 35 points up for grabs. So that classification is, still to be fought for. And, the leader we have there, Geschke, he is only, 19 points. He's leading that classification. So that's something for a lot of riders in their minds, have a go for the mountain classification, the polka dot jersey.
Early mechanical problem for Alexander Vlasov, not the start he would have wanted. Ever since he won that stage and took the lead in the Tour de Suisse, he has been beset by problems. Had to leave the Tour de Suisse due to a corona positive. Made the start of the Tour, but was caught up in crashes. Here was the conversation at the start. It's too hot and sunny to be Boxing Day in Zolder, isn't it? But it was like watching that start.
I'm
The
going
Cross
for it.
Kings, they did go for it. Absolutely brilliant to see. A lot of love for it. Wout van Aert in green. Mathieu van der Poel has not been his tour so far, but he's here and he's trying. Two of the sport's great rivals. Meantime, chase back on for Alexander Vlasov.
And we can see half the peloton has come across to Wout van Aert and Van der Poel here. A huge group getting out, and yeah, will they be allowed? And that is going to be an interesting one. And you know, this again is going to be a real fast start because of the flat we have here in that first 45 plus kilometers until we get to the first climb of the day. It's going to be rapid again, but we just have to pan back and see this group coming up. Is it going to be allowed to get any advantage?
We're on our way to the intermediate sprint at Aiguebelle, which comes after 16.5 kilometers today. And in that half the peloton group you talked about, as we see more problems, this time for Oeindel. Dool with a bike change. Hot on the heels of that incident there for Alexander Vlasov. But I can tell you that Tish Benoot was trying to come across, and that's an interesting one tactically for Jumbo-Visma. Already with Wout van Aert up the front. Keep your eye on that today. Pawns up the road maybe for the final climb, Col du Granon. And an opportunity to try and take the race to Tadej Pogacar. Let's see. Chris Froome trying to get up the road again too. Jack Bauer. And our latest attack is going to come from Maciej Bodnar, Polish time trialist. Lots of considerations today, Sean. Getting up the road, trying to get into the break, trying to affect things. It looks as though Bodnar is trying to pilot Pierre Latour into the breakaway. Behind, though, we've got another race today as well. Today's the first day that the sprinters will seriously be worrying about the time cut as well, won't they?
They will be, and you know, the sprinters, what they will do here is, you know, just maybe hover around the front and see if they can get into a breakaway, but not to make any effort, because if you make, you know, a lot of efforts trying to get into the move, because you're not going to get much of the day for a sprinter. Even if you get into a breakaway, you get a couple of minutes. So it's a one where they will be concerned, spare energy, and you know, try and get over the climbs as best as possible. That's the only thing you can do really today for those guys.
Brent van Muur in the red and white for Lotto Soudal. Guillaume Kerspook on his wheel. Then we go back to Tony Galopin. He's the rider from Trek Segafredo. Number 87 is Jan Tratnik. And interesting that Luke Rowe, alongside Tish Benoot, was monitoring that. And then it looks as though those two groups who try to get away are back together. And there are only 13 seconds for Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel. Long, flat road up the Maurienne Valley that you were talking about, Sean. That intermediate sprint after 16.5 kilometers. Of course, we're working backward on our graphic. So the number you're looking for there is 135.2. And we can have a quick look at Plancherine with Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Rob. It is just such a stunning area. I particularly do like the architecture around here. That particular chateau that we were looking at, I'm afraid I have very little information about, but we're going to be going past some absolutely stunning hilltop chateaus, and lots of interest here where the Marquis de Sade was imprisoned. 32 years of his 74 years the Marquis de Sade spent either in asylums or under incarceration, which tells you a lot about his life. Also why he wrote so many of his famous literary works whilst in prison as well. So more on him in a bit, and also a little more on people like Cardinal John of Segovia, who's another person I've been learning about in the last 24 hours. I'll tell you more about him later, Rob.
Thanks, Jono. This is Jonas Rutsch, young German rider who continues to impress us in the pink for EF Education Easy Post. Sylvain Tillier on the left-hand side. Just saw Kamil Gradek, the Polish time trialist, riding for Bahrain Victorious, make an effort to get out as well. There are plenty of riders interested here. Goujar has made a couple of attempts too in the green. Halfway through the Tour de France today at stage 11 of 21. 151.7 kilometres, leaving Albertville, venue for the 1992 Winter Olympic Games. And we'll finish for the first time since 1986 on the Col du Granon, just above Serre Chevalier. Valentin Madouas is at the back of the chasing peloton, 15 seconds behind Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel. And he is still travelling at nigh on 60 kilometres per hour. They are flying on the flat here, and it looks no closer to having any breakaway form. This is Peter Sagan, and Sean Total Energy have been active, but I think the man they want to get up the road today will probably be Pierre Latour.
Yes, well, they're very active here, but there's a lot of riders active, and that is the problem. You can see, you know, the team of Bahrain just kicking it on here again. Is that Tunes? But yeah, there's interest in making the breakaway, and for that reason, you know, it just gets complicated. And with this terrain as well, you know, the flat terrain, when you attack and you have a number of riders in your wheel, you know, they're getting an easy ride, where when it gets more hilly, and we did see that yesterday as well on the flat sections, impossible to get out the break, where it was when it started to go up a bit more, that's when they really split it and the elastic snapped, as they say in cycling terms, and they managed to get a breakaway away.
Oh, Eindel back in the peloton after his mechanical incident. If you're just tuning in, there was an incident too for Alexander Vlasov. He managed to return as well. And almost 20 seconds now for the first two who went stuck to the back of Christian Prudhomme's car bumper. Wout van Aert in the green jersey and his cyclocross nemesis, Mathieu van der Poel. This is Chris Nelons, former Latvian national champion, riding for an Israel Premier Tech team that took its first ever Tour de France stage win on our cobbled stage, and that was via Simon Clark. Looks as though two riders are trying to join him. A third is from Movistar, and we remind you that the last time that we had Nairo Quintana going over first on the Col du Galibier, well, that was Movistar's last stage win in the Tour de France, 2019. This time they've got Gregor Mühlberger, the Austrian rider, trying to get up the road with him. And well, Wout van Aert has almost managed to get to the intermediate sprint. He's 5 kilometres away. It's going to be interesting to see what happens if these two stay out and take the sprint. Whether they wait up for reinforcements, whether they continue, whether their day is done, there'll be decisions to be made, Sean.
Yes, it will be interesting, and Wout van Aert, of course, you know, he is out here for that reason. And I'm wondering, will they have a sprint here between the two for the points available? I'd not be surprised if they put up a little bit of a show here. But yeah, they will be hoping that they would have a group come across already, but unfortunately it's not happening. When you get that 30-second advantage, you have to keep trying then, and you're hoping that they will a group get out of peloton and come across, and you know, just to give more manpower, because this is a difficult one. Even though 40 seconds with two riders, when you hit the first climb of the day, it's going to be a real difficult one to continue on from there. But yeah, we know those two guys. They're not afraid to have an attack. Van der Poel, we've seen him so many times. Van Aert in this race, it's amazing, like, the form he has got, the way he's able to, you know, go up the road and prepare to attack just when it looks like that is going to be an impossible one. And the green jersey, you know, if he stayed in the group here and just try and pick up the points what's left, and maybe follow if there's a big group going, but no, he doesn't do that. He's a racer as well.
If he wins this, as it looks as though he's on his way to doing, he's going to win it in style, isn't he?
Yes, well, I think the moment he announced during the winter time that he was going to be targeting the green jersey, I think a lot of the sprinters were saying, oh, this is going to be an impossible task to really challenge him when he's given the free hand to go for that classification.
Now then, more attacks. And just keep your eye on Tish Benoot. Not the first time that he has wanted to be up the road today. Can we read anything into that with regards to maybe plans for Jonas Vingegaard and Primož Roglic, Sean?
Well, I think it's an opportunity today to get somebody up the road and get into the breakaway, see what the situation is, and you can use him. And when you have a guy up the road, it's so easy. If he has a number of minutes you need him, he can just slow down, come to a standstill almost, and you can get him back to where you need him in the peloton to do some work for the leader. So it's always a one that we see, and today there is that opportunity before we get on to the Col de Granon, because there is a lot in the valley, but on the downhill itself as well. The last kilometres of the downhill of the Galibier, a rider that can ride there full gas and get you onto the final climb. It would be important to have somebody out there with the possibility of doing that.
Yeah, you get down from the Col de l'Autré towards La Salle and Serre Chevalier. It's a flatter, false flat road, isn't it? Have somebody in front of you to the bottom there would be fantastic. As Tratnik is on the left-hand side. This is the latest group that's broken away. But note there at the back, just in front of him is Mr. Dillier. And guess who's here again? There is Sylvain Dillier, Tish Benoit. In every single move so far that's tried to come from the back. Jan Tratnik has been active as well. The rider representing Lotto Soudal is Bren van Muur. Number 35 here is Stan de Wolf. And this time the man from Bora Hansgrohe is Patrick Conrad. Conrad sitting at 7 minutes 48 seconds. Again, Bora Hansgrohe are looking for that opportunity to do something in the race. No stage wins yet. They came mightily close to the yellow jersey yesterday with Leonard Kemna. And remember, Kemna only just missing out before on La Planche des Belles Filles after a superb Giro d'Italia. They haven't ridden badly, have they, Sean, Bora Hansgrohe? But it just quite hasn't come off for them yet at this race.
Well, they have ridden excellently, I think, because, the way they're riding, putting riders into the breakaways, and in the very earlier part they were doing that. And they also had Vlasov, of course, who have slipped a bit in the GC, but that's what they do. And we did see in the Giro as well, let's not forget, in the earlier days they manage the breakaway, win like that, and then see what the situation as you get further into the race with their GC man. And it's worked out for them in the past. This year they haven't, they just haven't had that look, but they've definitely, ridden a very aggressive race and tactically really good.
That was nice to see, actually, after years of complete dedication to one cause from full teams, even when we had 9-man teams, that it's not impossible to combine a general classification challenge with that of being aggressive and searching stage wins. It's the type of cycling that I think the supporters like to see the most. Now then, 500 metres to the sprint for Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel, and we're approaching that moment now as to where decisions might be made. The green sprint arch is up ahead. First of all, are we going to have this show? Or is it going to be Van Aert who continues his turn to take through? Remember, 20 points available for the winner, 17 for second place here. Van Aert is on fire in this competition. 100 metres to go up towards the sprint. We're reminded that Mathieu van der Poel isn't involved in the sprint competition, and he's not going to get involved in putting on a show here. He rides through. So you'd imagine, having seen that, Van der Poel is keen at least to continue this particular move, Sean.
Yes, both are, looking keen at the moment, and they'll get the information as well. There's a group of riders out of the peloton coming across, so they will continue their effort because, we've got 6 riders here coming through. So, that is the perfect scenario for the 2 men out in front, but will they be allowed to get away? As we can see, the peloton is still being pulled along by some teams here, and it's a slim advantage for our 6 men just off the front.
Fabio Jakobsen trying to come around and mop up whatever points he can there. Remember, 8 riders had already gone off, so not many points available. Oliver Naas has been struggling the last couple of days, we're told, but he's still hanging in at the back. 132 there is Alexander Ryabushenko. So 17 kilometres ridden. Wout van Aert in the green jersey, Mathieu van der Poel here in the blue and navy of Alpecin de Koning. And 38 seconds ahead of the yellow jersey group. Just under 30 seconds now ahead of the 6 chasing. And for Jumbo-Visma, if that second group were to get to this group and a gap form, they will be in a wonderful position. Both Wout van Aert and Tish Benoit would be up the road. Pawns in a possible attack later on from Vingegaard. Rumoured in the French press, by the way, to have a bad back today, but completely denied, sternly denied to the Danish press this morning. And Primož Roglič, who's still in the game, soldiering on after his earlier injuries. this is that group who are trying to get across.
Puffertis are the ones seems to be on the push here, but other teams also getting involved here. And yeah, it's certainly not a situation where it's settled down. You can see the way the peloton is lined here. That means the pace is real hot.
Again, Oliver Nasa at the back here struggling. There's Tom Pidcock with his hand up. Going back to the car, I can only imagine it's a mechanical. The bar's not open yet for food. It's a long line. Number 5 there is Rafał Majka. No more positive tests reported in UAE Team Emirates, so they'll be hoping that they've managed to contain their own internal corona crisis. Another group breaks free. It's the one instigated by the riders from Cofidis who haven't made the group. Looks as though Pierre Latour has made it. That's là. And we're heading up the Maurienne Valley. We will take a detour up the beautiful Lacet de Montvernier. It's a second category climb, almost 4 kilometers long at almost 8%. Then head to Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne. It's when we get to Saint-Michel-de-Maurienne that we begin our monster climb to the Col du Galibier. 35 k's long, including the Col du Télégraphe, which is 12 kilometers at 7%. It's a tailwind you're seeing at the moment. Not a huge one, but one that will no doubt at least be helping the riders try and get away. And look at Mattia Cattaneo. No shortage of energy. He's hyperactive at this tour.
He certainly is, and you know, you see him in the earlier part of the stage. You know, he just gives that couple of efforts. See, can he get into the breakaway? And you know, that's what you've got to do on a day like today. If you haven't anything other to do within the team to help, you know, some of the riders, if you're in GC, and in their case they don't have anybody there. So yeah, give it a lash there and see what will happen. But we can see that, you know, it's coming back together all the time here, and you know, the riders looking around, they can see the peloton is being pulled along. Just for the feed, Rob, there is you know, 12 kilometres into the stage today. They were allowed feeding, I think, because of the warm conditions, until 5 kilometres before the finish.
Wow, on those narrow roads going up Col du Granon. That is
sticky bottle would be a nice one.
A very nice one. The VAR might have to go through quite a bit of footage later on today. Interesting, we haven't seen a shot for a while, have we now, of Van Aert and Van der Poel. Here they go, but the gap really being reduced now. 13 seconds. They're still riding, though. But a few looks around now from Van Aert. Confirmation that it's a mechanical problem, a radio problem, I think, for Thomas Pidcock. 8th overall at 1 minute 46. He could do with that working today. Maybe a chance for a team plan to be executed at some point. 15 seconds back to the yellow jersey group from Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel. And this is the man who's in the middle, Mattia Cattaneo. We've had 22 kilometres almost of racing. Yet again, it's the same story as the last few days on the Tour de France. There is no breakaway. Certainly not one that is going to stick. 21 seconds for Van Aert, who took the maximum points there and added considerably to his lead in the green jersey classification. Mathieu van der Poel has been with him since the neutral zone. Brothers in arms at the start today. Both trying to do something special on a day where we have legendary monument climbs. One of the hardest finales to a tour stage that I can remember. Certainly when you combine Télégraphe, Galibier and Granon into the second half of a relatively short stage as well. 151 kilometres. Now then, Jonathan Harris-Bass was talking about hilltop architecture and chateau. Here you go, Jonathan.
That's right, the Château de Miolon This was built as a gateway between the Maurienne and the Tarentaise valleys. It's absolutely spectacular. Started right the way back in the 12th century. In the Middle Ages, it sort of took its present form, more or less, and then it was transformed into a state prison, aforementioned, between 1564 to 1792. And the Marquis de Sade was amongst its most famous prisoners. He spent, as I was saying, 32 years of his life in prison, and 2 of them were there at the Château de Mywhoosh. Marquis de Sade, famous for being a libertine, and I'd had to go and check out what a libertine was. I mean, I obviously heard of the band and I was aware of the movement, but just rather nicely sort of summed up as devoid of moral principle, responsibility, or sexual restraint. So it's sort of meant to be peak hedonism. Not that you know anything about that, Rob.
Tour de France riders have been racing like that. Full gas, non-stop. Hardest, most chaotic Tour de France that many riders in this peloton have experienced so far. The words of Romain Bardet backing that up. Now Rigoberto Urán saying that he'd taken his power meter off. Shawnee said that he didn't need the numbers to tell him anymore. He knew that it was all out, full gas, and he knew his own body's limits.
And maybe the numbers are not good enough. He just wants to get it out of sight. If you're not going and putting out the watts and the power you need to be able to do, best thing is just leave it in your suitcase.
What is it, 300 grams he might have saved as well. That'll help the numbers, even though he can't see them. There's a conversation of the several that there will have been this morning, and a nice smile between Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel. I guess they are still waiting for a few more friends to join them for now.
Yes, and you know, they're about halfway from the finish to the from the start, sorry, to the first climb of the day, and you know, it's a long one here, and it's a big effort. You can see that, you know, the advantage, but this man, he is giving it his all here. He's going to get across, and maybe that's, yeah, they're just made aware of that. Just knock it off a little bit, allow another man in, and give him a little bit of rest time, and hopefully he'll be able to do a bit before we get onto the first climb of the day. But it's proving a difficult one. But yeah, Van Aert, of course, if he gets to the climb here with, you know, that 30-40 seconds advantage, it's a short climb. It's only, what, 3.4 kilometers. He get over that, well, then he's in a real good position, you know, to maybe do something for the team. So they're probably thinking that as well, and they are committed now. They have to continue on and see what they will have when they get to that climb.
Well, that tailwind's getting stronger the further they go up the Maurienne Valley here. And you could see behind, look at the peloton snaking left, right. Another little snap in the elastic happens, and another small group comes. Then there's a reaction. It's ferocious stuff. And the speed's absolutely ridiculous at this tour.
And this is something that, you know, the riders that would be targeting this stage, you know, the lightweight, the climbers, you know, this speed, this is just, you know, saps your energy big time in the earlier part of the race, at this point in the race as well, because we've done so much, you know, this fast racing. It's been full on every day. There's, you know, been very little time where it settles down and a team just makes the pace behind a breakaway. It's just, racing, you know, full on, and that is something that will mark a lot of the riders who do not like this flat, big gear stuff, and especially the climbers here today who will be targeting, you know, to do something in the GC or maybe a stage victory, not the start they would like.
Single file. There's another little split happens at the front. Just see there that Nielsen Paulus was racing right towards the back. He said that he still wants to ride for general classification at the moment. Good sign, he's going well, 11th at 1 minute 55. Mattia Cattaneo is very much in stage hunting mode. The whole team is. And he's showing that he's in some of the best form of his life.
But not utilising it in the best way. Because we can see here it's I was expecting the two up front maybe to just slow it down a bit, but they're not at all. He is still, in full effort here, and a bit in no man's land, as they say. And we can see, the last shots we had there, the main peloton still, full action on there, and you see the advantage they have. The two out in front, then our chaser here, back to the front of the peloton. It's just a slim advantage here, and he's still committed here, and it's going to be a difficult one to see this one getting any advantage where they're going to have enough time to get up the first climb of the day ahead of the main part of the peloton.
Yellow jersey Tadej Pogacar has Marc Soler, his teammate, in attendance close behind. A couple of teammates behind, in fact. And he's waiting for the action to calm down. Later on should be his moment to defend and perhaps even shine. It's an 11-second lead right now as a new second-place man. In fact, two new riders got into the top 10 yesterday. Leonard Kemner at 11 seconds, and Luis Leon Sanchez with his breakaway moving into 10th place yesterday. Speed still above 50 kilometers per hour. And the yellow jersey group is at just under 30 seconds. Jumbo-Visma are obviously very, very keen today. I've seen Ineos Grenadiers slowly getting a couple of riders towards the front too. So starting to see that there is a plan or two there to try and maybe get riders up the road to lay it down later on to UAE Emirates. Trek Segafredo again on the attack there as Van der Poel looks back. Catania's inching closer to them. You see on the graphic the 27-year-old from the Netherlands. It's his second Tour de France. Of course, has already worn the yellow jersey. And he's already a stage winner. Not a bad palmarès already. So Catania looks like he's about to make it in. And from a duo, we should grow to a trio. Just 23 seconds from Van Aert and Van der Poel all the way back to the peloton. Morning, Brandon. Fast becoming the most important man for Tadej Pogacar at this tour, and he's trying to stay cool. Temperatures are going to be in the 30s today. Take a deep breath, Mattia. From 2 to 3. He's made it, Sean.
Yes, he's made it, and this has been a big, big effort. He is performing real well. To be able to bridge across to these two riders that were in front and really working well together. He has done a great job. Unfortunately, 13 seconds back to the front end of the main peloton. That is going to be the real killer. But the three here now, they're thinking, well, this effort we're making here, we're not getting any real major advantage, and not a lot of riders able to get across, and that's what they were hoping. The two, Van der Poel, Van Aert in the earlier part, get out in the front here and get a group. But we'll see a split here.
You imagine now that they were out there and they were just about to be caught. In the meantime, Pollitt is there. 74 is Jonas Aguirre. Max Schachmann in this group. Number 108 is Guillaume van Kersbroek. A couple of riders from Total Energie. Mars Pedersen. Christophe Laporte. Voted the best domestique, and Dylan Turns. Wow. Turns at 23 minutes, no longer a threat in the general. So, has the peloton sat up behind? That's the question. We're not seeing a time gap for the moment. Is there anybody dangerous in the general in that group? Of course, there would be at least two riders from Jumbo-Visma at the front of the race. Pollitt there. Jonas Rutsch is another rider. Warren Barguil. Number 33 is Mikel Cherel. Kamil Gradek, another rider there from Bahrain Victorious. Simon Geschke, the king of the mountains. Tony Galopin would be in that group as well, 14:47. Yet to see anybody dangerous in the general. Schachman's now at 32 minutes. Looking back to Primoz Roglic, who's taken on an extra bidon. What is the demeanour of this group? Have they sat up? Is it continuing? Because looking at that group behind on first look, there's nobody, Sean, who would threaten the general classification.
No, and you know, we see there was, you know, full-on racing on the front of the peloton for, you know, kilometre after kilometre, and then suddenly, you know, you get a group that, you know, just gets that little bit of an advantage, and yeah, the peloton maybe allow them to get away here, but we'll see the front of the peloton. As we can see, you know, still action here on the front, and yeah, the peloton moving along. Is this the group? No, there's another.
No, this is another chasing group.
Yes, another group trying to come out here. As we can see, it's not settled, not slowed in the peloton for the moment.
1,700 kilometres almost ridden, and look at what Jumbo-Visma are doing here. Tish Benoot trying to get up the road. There's another rider in here from this team. They already have Laporte further up the road. They already have Wout van Aert further up the road. They are telegraphing an attack maybe after the telegraph. They certainly want to have pawns up the road. And this is fascinating. Lotto Soudal, I think, have missed the move. This is Benoot chasing. Haller is on his wheel. Now Benoot chasing because he's happy with what's happening up front, perhaps, Sean.
Yes, I think he's trying to, you know, just block it here for the moment and allow this group to get an advantage. And we can see, you know, 15 seconds. It looks more than 15 seconds when you look back at the moment, but here we see the motorbike. So yes, at the rate they're going, you know, they come so quickly, and yeah, this is an interesting one. This is a big group, and not surprising that Jumbo-Visma want to, you know, leave this one, get enough of an advantage before we get to the climb. And that's going to be the interesting one when we get onto the climb, what advantage they will have, and, you know, will the other teams really push on? But they will be certainly in the peloton. They will all want to get position because, you know, this Mont Vernier, it's a climb where you have to, you know, go onto it in a good position in the peloton, and, you know, so they will need a nice advantage out here on this breakaway to get that climb over it.
Now, I have a feeling that Warren Barguil might be the best placed rider in this group at 13 minutes 33. They're getting 21 seconds. Is it growing? And is there more action still behind? Remember, our teams who've missed out, there is a little bit of action behind. Movistar seemed keen, didn't they? Lotto Soudal as well. And here now come UAE Emirates to start trying to shut down moves. Rider from Movistar here is Nelson Oliveira. He's the Portuguese time trialist. On his wheel is Mart Soler, a former teammate of his.
That's not surprising. Soler is marking an ex-teammate.
What are you trying to say?
Well, we know the history there, Rob.
Matteo Jorgensen coming up. He had a very good day yesterday, young rider. Tadej Pogacar, Filippo Ganna. 31 seconds and growing. I think we're coming up to a couple of key kilometres, aren't we now, Sean, to see whether this is the group or not today.
Yes, this is going to be an interesting one because the teams that, you know, need to get this one under control, it is a big group, and we can see here, you know, a knockback in the pace in the peloton, and now it's going to be about, yeah, will this continue? Will the other riders and other teams, you know, want to, you know, keep it going? And if you keep riding at a pace and maybe just keep on putting in these attacks, well, then the advantage is not going to go out big time before the climb, and then you can rectify it in the climb with some riders, you know, that can do that explosive effort to try and get across. But if you're allowed to get, you know, 3 minutes plus, well, then it could be at the break that could go a long way into the stage.
Brad talked the other day on his podcast and on air, actually, Sean, about maybe Tadej Pogacar needing to assert himself more in the yellow jersey and use that yellow jersey. You know, of course, there's tradition when the leader of a race stops for a comfort break, everybody has to stop and there's no more attacking. you just wonder whether this could be one of those moments where he could step up to that role, grow into the jersey, and perhaps assert his authority maybe more on the race.
Well, you try and do that, but I don't think it works anymore. They just, you know, the riders, they don't respect anybody, as we say. You know, the yellow jersey or the palmarès of a rider, that's gone out the door now. And when you're getting orders from the team, you know, you have to try and get up the road, chase that breakaway. When the peloton is slowed down like this, you know, it just doesn't work, and it seems to be totally gone out the window. But yeah, we can see here the peloton has definitely knocked it off now, and it looks like the breakaway out front, yeah, it will be a nice advantage when they get to the climb.
Well, we've got about 20 riders up the road. Yesterday we had 25 in the breakaway, didn't we? Here's Guillaume van Kersbroek, he's one of them on the right-hand side. Now taking his turn at the front, the German champion, who's Niels Pollitt. Kamil Gradek in the red here. Jonas Aguirre alongside him for Cofidis, and Wout van Aert in front of Mads Pedersen. We're going up the road and to join Hannah Walker.
I've come to take a look at the first classified climb of today's stage, Lacet de Montvernier. It is brutal. It's incredibly difficult. The approach to the climb is wide. You've got a brilliant road. It's very fast. You have a tailwind. And as soon as you make that left-hand turn to the lower slopes of the climb, it's very, very narrow. It's a very old mountain road, mountain pass. This climb, although only 3.4 kilometers in length, you gain 277 meters of altitude gain for these riders, and there's 18 switchbacks, 18 hairpins on this climb as well, so incredibly difficult. You can see as soon as you make these hairpins, the gradient, the steepness of this road, the temperature as well, you can feel it searing onto the skin here. A key point of today's stage, and with it being so narrow as well, the road only really enough space for sort of just over a car width, so positioning into the lower slopes of the climb is going to be vital.
Thanks, Hannah. Gap growing, you might be able to enjoy the more scenic views of the Lacet rather than the pure racing we've had so far. The gap is growing. The peloton are happy. It breaks away. Miguel Mago at the front helping to calm things down. This will be better news for the sprinters as well, Sean.
It will be. And they'll be hoping now that things will stay calm on the the Montvernier climb, that they will make a tempo and they will have difficulty staying in the peloton, but you know, we heard there that is a short climb, so you just make a big effort and get over it, not too far off, possibly in the cavalcade of cars, and get back in again. And then we have probably about, you know, a good 20 kilometers before we start to climb the telegraph. And when you get to that point, you're getting that bit closer to the finish. So for the time limit for those riders who want to make that group better of the day, that would be the target they'll be working to.
Bajoli is the second rider in there for Quickstep Alpha Vinyl, young Italian rider on debut at the Tour de France. Dylan Turns, one of the quality riders who, if this were allowed a crazy advantage, could take things to the finish. But you can't imagine today that the general classification teams will want to waste the opportunity, Sean.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one. You know, who's going to take it up? They're all going to look at the team of yellow jersey to control now when we get on to this the first climb of the day, and we get over that in this valley. And yeah, when you get onto the more serious part, onto the telegraph, you know, if you allow the team of yellow jersey, they will try and just set a pace, but not be concerned about the breakaway out front. And you could see them, you know, putting a big advantage then on that climb and going on to the Galibier itself. So yeah, it's a complicated one, but I feel there could be some teams that are thinking, yeah, let's try and put the pressure on today. This is a great opportunity, the Galibier, the distance of the climb, the altitude of all of that, and try and isolate Pogačar, because we know his team, you know, has been depleted by, you know, the effects of COVID, Bennett going out yesterday. All of that, I think, will be in the plan of the rider. So I'm concerned for the breakaway that they will get enough advantage to get to the final climb of the day with that advantage of to go for stage win.
I can imagine that there'll be a lot of disappointed bike fans if some teams don't decide to try and put pressure on UAE Emirates today, given the history of this climb. Of these climbs, I should say. It's a hot day though, look at that ice quickly turning to water. He's coming back from the fair with a goldfish. These two started the party today. 2 became 3. A lot of effort there from Catania. Less effort paid in this group. Shorter distance to travel, the timing of the break we always talk about, and suddenly there were 20. Laporte and Fanart are there for Jumbo-Visma. We just saw Cherel for AG Desert Citroën. Pollitt and Schachmann, the 2 riders, the 2 Germans from Bora Hansgrohe. There's Bajoli with Catania, 2 Italian riders for the Belgian team. Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl. Geske is our king of the mountains, here with Izagirre for Cofidis. Remember, 14 years and counting, but they keep trying, and they have some quality riders up the road today. Gradek and Turns, the 2 riders from Bahrain. Close yesterday, weren't they, with Luis Leon Sanchez and Fred Wright. Mathieu van der Poel's with Guillaume van Kersbroek. Jonas Rutsch is the sole representative of EF Education Easy Post. Then there's Warren Barguil. He rides for Arkea Samsic, a team who have never ever won a stage at the Tour de France. Mars Pedersen is the helper, you'd imagine, for Tony Galopin today. Mathieu Bodnar, Pierre Latour, representatives from Total Energy. Chris Nelons, the only representative in the race at this front of the race for Israel Premier Tech. And here's the general classification coming up on your screen at the moment. The best placed is the rider from Arkea Samsic, Warren Barguil, who is at 13 minutes 33 seconds.
And the interesting one, Rob, we can see Simon Geschke is up here, so for the mountain classification, the polka dot jersey, it's a great move by him to make it in, and he also have a teammate there, so yeah, with the advantage going out, you know, 2:45 at the moment, it could be a case where, you know, he could pick up a lot of
It's fucking hot in here.
polka dot jersey points during this stage.
And looking around as well, wondering who might be there to challenge him in that stake. We're getting really...
I opened up the heat vents because they were closed
competition is concerned.
the other day, so this room's
Back in the peloton, Geraint Thomas, back in his
a
normal
lot hotter
position.
now. At least 2, 3,
There's Kayla
4
Buell
degrees,
riding
somewhere around
towards
there.
the front.
Might not seem a lot, but
It's quite fishy at the moment.
when your
Deep
ambient
for riding.
temperature increases, your body temperature increases as well.
Louvière
So
on his wheel. Interesting to see how today Pogacar uses his 5 domestiques today. How fit and healthy they all are. And which teams try to challenge him. David Gaudu and Groupama FDJ talked up how they were going to attack today's stage. Gaudu said it's one he had written down in his diary for a long time. This is Mathieu Biogodo on your screen, and there's Thomas Pidcock. Still up there in the general. Big day for him today. In fact, big 2 days. Got a chance to take in a snack. It's been thirsty and hungry work so far. Almost 45 kilometres raced. It's taken a while for things to settle down. The gap is growing quite quickly though, isn't it, Sean? Now UAE Emirates very content to let it grow. Over 3 minutes.
Yes, well, you know, it's a perfect situation because GC, the riders are up there, you know, way down, and Barguil at plus 13 minutes. So not a problem at all. Now they have to get over this next climb, and hopefully that they will be able to calm the situation, as you were talking about, Rob. That Montvernier, if they can get over that one and get onto the Col de Telegraph, well then they have the riders in the peloton who can ride for a long time for the yellow jersey. So it's turning out to be a good situation. And the start today, it's always a complicated one, because if you get somebody who just slips into these big groups going, and a big group, it's always real dangerous, and then to get it back you have to use maybe more the men that you would like to keep in reserve for this climb and the climbs to come in the stage today.
Oh la la, take a look at that. The Lacet de Montvernier. Sensationally stunning. Just for the views, it's a bucket list climb.
And no spectators.
No room for anybody. Just a couple of kilometers until we get to the famous shoelaces. Beautiful addition in the last few years to this great race. 109th edition of the Tour now. We've had a tactical full gas battle so far. The legs of the strong men have won. But we're settling in now for the pattern for the rest of the day. Hot sunshine, a tailwind. That's going to stay with the riders for most of the day. It's set to continue all the way up the Galibier, actually. Quite a nice tailwind. So we could have a fast ascent if the racing is on. 35 kilometers long, remember. Climb that was debuted in 1911. Émile Georget was the first to the top. Took him 2 hours 38 minutes.
Man, my heart rate just did not want to do anything today besides go up.
Do not expect it to take anywhere near that time today. We're going up to 2,642 meters. The start of the climb is further up this valley, but we're about to take a detour, because the riders are heading on to the Lacet de Montvernier. And the breakaway are going to get there first. By the time they get to the first couple of slopes, I think the advantage will have grown to nigh on 4 minutes. It's going by the pedal stroke. Two factors contributing to that. First of all, they're working beautifully out here in front. And behind in the peloton, they're allowing it to grow. Here we go then. Nearly 4 minutes of a gap. 3.4 Ks to the top. The Lacet de Montvernier. The breakaway's on it. 8% for the first bit. Grows to 9. Eases out over the top. But we are here for the views. So if they had their phones, it'd all be going on the gram, this, wouldn't it? Let's go and see what Bradley Wiggins has for us.
You join me just ahead of the breakaway here. We're just on that climb now, that little climb, the switchbacks here, absolutely stunning up this climb now. I can just look down, I can see the 20-man breakaway that have just hit the slopes of this climb now. It's not too steep, so it's okay for the riders, but it's very, very narrow. There's not too many spectators up here either, I imagine, because there's not really the place on the road for them to go. But this is a little pinch in the route today for the riders now. Tough stage, let's not forget here today. I'm going to drop in behind this breakaway now and keep my eyes on things. And yeah, this is the first test of today, really. I imagine that this break now could go all the way to the finish, really, with the composition of it. It's going to be a tough one here today. You just get a view now behind me with this camera here, just what the riders are taking on here now. Absolutely stunning here up on this climb. I will hand you back to the commentary team.
Thanks, Brad. And from Brad handing back to me, I'm going to take a seat back, enjoy the views, and hand to Carlton Kirby.
Thank you, Rob. We'll see you later. What a fast start it has been today. Relentless, I think you might say. The Lacet, absolutely beautiful. And in 2015, it was part of the Tour and the Dauphiné, you might remember. Built in 1934. Took 6 years to build it. They followed the old goat paths, little trading path routes through, but decided to create a road. And they don't allow heavy vehicles up here. In fact, it's a rarity even for cars, it seems. There is passing points along the way. If you want a view of it, because it's cut into the mountain, it's very hard to see all of it. So you get to the top, take a right-hander and go through a little field there, just right round the back of the chapel, which we'll see in a little while. And then you can kind of look back at it, because the best views really are from the helicopter. It's very, very narrow, Sean. And I guess the dread was that we'd still be trying to form a breakaway by the time we got here. And that would have been a bit of a mess.
I don't know how I
As
get
it is,
half
we've
a
got
fucking
20
star
riders
on
up the
that.
road, all extremely accomplished. A mix of power, I think, and those who can take on certain grades of mountains.
This game really needs to be a little lenient with the fucking passing of these stars.
In the past, the likes of Warren Barguil, of course, Pierre Latour's taken on some mighty peaks. There's a rush here from the peloton as well. They want a decent position because this will string out. It is quite narrow and, as we've seen, extremely twisty.
Yes, it is, and we've seen there the earlier part of the climb. It is narrow, so it is going to be a question of positioning in the front of the peloton. So they will
And
be
Durant.
race, but then when they get onto the climb, you know, they will knock it back when they're in the position they need to be. And we can see in the breakaway they're just walking away at it, and you can see the teams who are coming to the front here. They're the ones who want to position their leaders. And it's looking good for the breakaway. 4 minutes of an advantage now. Will that be allowed to continue to grow out? That is the question from here on. Will they be able to pull the advantage enough that they can possibly go all the way to the finish? We'll have to see after this climb, and as we go on to the more serious ones, the Col de Telegraph. That is where we will see, you know, what the tactics of a lot of the teams will be at that point. And yeah, in the breakaway, it's a nice place to be after such a big effort. You know, get ahead, and we can see there in the breakaway also they're just making a good strong pace, so everybody should be able to get over, because it's a relatively short climb, you know, just over the 3 kilometers.
Well, I know it's a Parc Naturel round here as well, but it'd be lovely to have that helicopter shot of everyone filling the switchbacks we've got here. 18 hairpins in total, or 17. There's a moot point as to whether one of them is in fact a hairpin, and here is that view that we've been lusting after. Interesting, as we came into the first little corner there, Luke Rowe did a brilliant one. He actually almost dive bombed into the corner to create space, to make sure that Ineos Grenadiers had a good view of this, Sean.
Yes, well, we know Luke Rowe, he's a specialist in positioning his riders. That, you know, he's known for that, and you know, in all sorts of different style of races, and he can do it, you know, on the mountain stages leading onto those climbs.
They're already fucking halfway up the fucking mountain. It's been like 3 minutes.
When you get onto the climb in the good position, then your job is done, and unless there's a team that want to push it on, you know, at this point, but that is looking highly unlikely, because with what's to come in this stage later on.
Well, we're joined by Adam Blythe, who's been very busy creating more content for you on GCN. Look forward to seeing a bit more of that later on. Adam, this is a spectacular, beautiful climb. It could as well have been quite chaotic, but thankfully we've got some semblance of stability before we even got here, with a very, very good break of 20 riders who find themselves in this position.
A very strong breakaway indeed. I have to say my highlight so far has been Van der Poel and Wout van Aert go off the front at the very get-go there. It's brilliant to watch, but it's a great group up the road. I mean, look how beautiful that is. Absolutely stunning. Gorgeous. I'd even get on my bike to ride up that, I think, and I hate climbing.
Took 6 years to build it. And,
not surprised.
Yeah, you can see where they've had to bank up some of the turns that we're taking and almost define the day. It is an extremely beautiful picture, as you can see. Yeah, we'll try and guide people as well. Please do be careful when you get to cliff edges, but if you do want to have a look back at it, it is set into the mountain. Almost difficult to visualize, Adam, when you're actually down there and actually on it.
Yeah, I mean, when you're on it like now, Van der Poel, bless him, he's not... I don't know how I feel about... I'm just really gutted for Van der Poel, because I love watching him when he's at his absolute best, or even when he's not at his best. But when we see Van der Poel like this, he is just not his normal self, and I'm sure everyone at home doesn't like watching him like that, but it only makes him human. But I think we all like to see Van der Poel when he's absolutely on top form, and whatever we're thinking, he must be thinking 3 times, 4 times as worse, just because it's Van der Poel, and he's never ever been in this position before, so it must be mentally very hard for him.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you've touched greatness, and of course he will again, I'm certain. But yeah, he lit it up at the beginning, but it's others that are now carrying the light. Yeah, the approach into these lacets. Luke Rowe drifted wide. Just make sure that it was also a reminder to Jumbo-Visma. Look, this is you're not going to have all the fun here. And nice now to see UAE Team Emirates coming up and starting to engage with it, Sean, as well.
Yes, well, we can see Soler there on the front and just tapping out a pace, and that's what they've got to do. Just keep a nice pace, not go too slow, because then some riders think of pushing on the climb. So just to calm the peloton, that's what they're doing at the moment. But you can see Van der Poel struggling already, and you can see the man who was setting the pace on the front for the team Jumbo-Visma, Laporte. Van der Poel normally in a climb like this, he should have no problem, even though he's made a big effort to get here. In his good form, he'd get up this one without any problem. It just shows that he's not recovered and not at the level he can be, and it's still the same situation as we had in the beginning of the race. But again, he doesn't just lose the head. He doesn't stay back in the peloton. He's a racer, and he gets up the road, gives it a lash, and gives it a push on, and see what happened. And he probably will get over here and get back in again, but it just gives us indicator for the rest of the day he's not in the shape he can be, and he was, like in Giro, for example.
Indeed. It's been a great race so far for Bora Hansgrohe. Could have been better by their own declarations yesterday, had Lenny Kamna gone into the lead of this race. But it seems that Tadej Pogačar just did not want to hand over the yellow jersey when it became a possibility, and he thought, well, you know what, I might as well kick on for another 10 seconds and just make sure that that doesn't happen. I think it's 11 that separates them overall. But still busy, Adam. Bora Hansgrohe with Niels Poller and Max Schachmann. Some good cards to play with Schachmann again up the road. And also a good foil if Lenny Kamna does decide he wants to go and snaffle 11 seconds, if that would be
word.
possible on the peaks we're dealing with.
Well, let's see if it is possible today. I think by the way that peloton's riding, though, I think it's Marc Soler on the front of the peloton, just one UAE rider so far, and then there's a line of Ineos, there's Jumbo-Visma, obviously, but interestingly for me here that Jumbo-Visma...
26,000 meters we've climbed, almost 2,400 kilometers,
to be used later
and just over 4 days.
Thinking about Primož Roglič today, and
not bad, not
there's
bad.
a possibility that he might be able to claw some time back, being a bit far back. Maybe that's the perfect opportunity if he can do that, and he's got 2 riders up the road almost waiting for him. Could be, it could work very well, but it's easier said than done.
Full set now on the front of the peloton, as you can see, for UAE Team Emirates, because we remind you they are depleted without George Bennett, without Langen, of course, and Raf Majka compromised, but still there. And that's a useful thing for Tadej Pogačar. The other teams had to do something today, Sean, and Jumbo-Visma have played their cards first, let's put it that way. Ineos Grenadiers keeping it quiet just for now, but they will go loud. They have to. This is an opportunity to dig into Tadej Pogačar. They're forcing them to do the chase at the moment, and UAE Team Emirates seem, well, at least for the time being anyway, willing to do so, despite the fact that they're now over 4.5 minutes down.
Yes, well, I think UAE Team Emirates are under control there, and we can see Mikel Biel is the one who is setting the pace. It was, the other man, Soler, was setting it just a moment ago, and I think they're just going to, keep this advantage from growing out to be enormous, and see what happened in the final, see what the other teams will do, and that is the big question. What will the other teams do here? And Jumbo-Visma, with men up the road, can they, use that tactic where, they can use those guys in the final? That's all to see and all to come later on this stage.
Well, you saw Simon Geschke second over the line here for the Category 2 test. Just in front of him, it wasn't Bodnar, I think it was Pierre Latour that came over. Warren Barguil in close